People of God, listen, I want to share something with you, right? Um, I was asleep. I was in bed asleep, right? And Daniel came waking me up, pushing in bed, whining or whatever. So I got up. I was like, okay, you gotta go to the bathroom. So I got up, and when I came out of the room to go take him out back to the bathroom, he turns to go to the front to play where Mate is laying on the couch. And I was like, why'd you wake me up for nothing? He didn't really have to use the restroom. He just wanted to wake me up. So I sat down on the couch, and then I was like, man, let's go get the chicken eggs. So when I went outside to get the chicken eggs, I collected the chicken eggs yesterday. I believe I got 8 eggs yesterday. So I know I collected the eggs yesterday. It was 6 or 8 eggs that I got yesterday. Well, today when I went out to get the chicken eggs, the little white chickens that I adopted, the ones I showed you in the previous videos where I adopted the 2 white laying leghorns for my neighbor because he had to move. When I opened their nesting box, rather than it being 2 eggs, which I normally collect 2 eggs from them every day, and I got 2 eggs from them yesterday, when I opened the nesting box, it was 4 eggs. And so I stood there for a minute, and I was like, four eggs. And then I was thinking about it, and I was like, wow, I was like, wow, y'all must really lay really well, The research I did on them laying leghorns, they're pretty good chickens, and they do lay well. From the research, they lay pure white eggs. But since I've had them, this is the first time that they've laid 4 eggs. Like, so obviously one has laid 2 today and the other has laid 2. So this is the first time they've ever laid double in one day, right? I wasn't expecting to see that. So I didn't take the basket out there with me because I was thinking I normally can manage. Sometimes I'll take the basket out with me, but the basket's full. I got to process eggs. I've got several baskets of full eggs that needs to be processed, right? So I just went out there with my bare hands. So I had to take my my other garment that I had on, and I put them inside of that. And then as I left that coop, I went to the next chicken coop with my other girls. They didn't lay, all of them didn't lay today, so I got the eggs out of there. Then I went to my chicken coop where, I don't know if you guys remember, a while back I had a rooster that I had to get rid of because he hurt my girl's back. I think someone commented and said, you commented and said I should try, I think, bantam or something, a smaller rooster, because the heavier they are, they hurts the girl back. I don't know if you guys have been following me. You saw one day I went to the coop and one of my chickens were dead, and I didn't understand why. And then when I saw, one day when I went back, another one was kind of injured, and I saw that the rooster was riding her, and she eventually died too. So that's when I got rid of him. So it was only 2 of those left, 2 of my young girls left in that one coop. So I went to their nesting box and I checked their eggs, and there was 4 eggs in there. So that means that they too laid double, the ones that I'd already had. So it wasn't just a leghorn thing, which I was thinking, oh, these leghorns lay really well. I got 4 today. So I went to my other girls that were just 2 in the coop, and they laid 4 eggs. So each of them laid double twice today. And I thought, wow. I was like, wow, what is this? This is the first time that I know that I just got the leghorns. So since I've had them, this is the first time that they've laid double. And then my 2 young girls, since I've had them, this is the first time that they've laid double like that in one day. So I collected all the eggs, and as I was walking back inside, I heard in the spirit, remember what I did for Job. And so I came inside, and it was just pondering on me. It was just, heavy in my spirit. And so as I pondered over what the Lord did for Job, and many of you remember when the enemy came to test Job, um, God allowed that. It was for Job to see the power and recognize the power and who God was. God always knew that he was not going to allow the enemy to destroy Job. Remember in the beginning, it said Job was an upright man and perfect in all his ways, and he was pleasing to the Lord. But God still allowed the enemy to test Job because God, when the angels came to give the report, Satan was amongst them. And the Lord said, have you considered my servant Job? Right? So even though it says Job was a perfect man and upright in all his ways, God still allowed his servant that was upright and perfect in all his ways to be tested. There was still another level he could bring Job up to. And when the enemy wanted to, um, test Job, and he wanted to make Job stumble, and he told God, well, it's that only because you've built a hedge of protection around him. That's the only reason he really honors you. But let me have a chance at him. So God's like, very well then. You see, the accuser thought he could accuse Job to God. But see, God knew Job's heart, and he also knew he was going to use that as a way to elevate Job. And so the enemy goes and starts destroying Job's thing. He pretty much takes Job captive, basically. God allows Satan to take Job captive. But God knows Job's heart, and he knows that every time the enemy comes back to accuse Job again to get more permission, because every time he did something to Job, when he went and he destroyed all his cattle in one day, he had the angels that go and they kept giving reports to Job. Oh, this happened, that happened. So every sudden destruction just came on Job. Bad thing after bad thing after bad thing after bad thing. Even to all his children got killed, right? A heavy heart. Then it got to the point where there was nothing left for the enemy to take. So then the enemy begins to fight against his health and his strength, and then Job goes into a bed of affliction and is burdened down so much so the enemy jumps into his wife, and his wife got to the point where she told him, just curse God and die. And he called her, he said, shut up, you old foolish woman. So pretty much everything Job had was taken, and the enemy was allowed to take him captive and torment him. But God knew where he was going to elevate Job. And Job never cursed God. Then he had friends, so-called ministers and leaders in the church, that would come and supposedly speaking a word to him, but they were not saying things that were pleasing to the Lord. And in the end, God dealt with them. God told him, I'm not pleased with you. You go and take God told him to go and take a sacrifice and offer it before Job and let Job pray for them. So he gave Job, when he in the end, when the Lord showed up and spoke to Job, he gave Job power over his enemies, because he wasn't pleased with Job's friends. He was pleased with Job, but he still corrected Job and dealt kind of strong with Job, because Job did a lot of complaining. He did a lot of questioning why he was born, and he even asked to die. He might as well be dead. He never cursed God. He never lost his faith in God, but he was weary. He was depressed. He was down and out. He ain't had nobody on his left. He ain't had nobody on his right. Even his wife and friends, everybody was all in this whole other thing. And it's like Job just was in this dark pit, this valley by himself, suffering, going through so much, trying to find understanding, saying all kind of weird things or whatever, not really understanding, cursing the day he was born. And then God finally showed up and spoke to Job. He pretty much told him to shut up, be quiet. I am the God who created this. And God goes on this long thing of correcting Job. And then Job still humbles himself, and he says, I'm sorry. I've spoken ignorantly, foolishly. He said, I've only known about you from what I have heard. But see, now you've shown up for me. I know you for myself. So I'm sorry. Forgive me. I repent of my foolish words. See, pretty much so much in their conversation, in their dialogue, God wanted Job to know he had the power within him the whole time. And he had the power, the ability to call on his God from heaven. And if Job would have called on his God from heaven, I believe with all sincerity, based on the scriptures of the conversations between God and Job, God would have put a stop to the enemy sooner than later, right? But Job continued to get weary and weary and weary, but he kept his faith. Then when God corrected Job, Job humbled himself. He apologized to God. And God told him to pray for his friends, right? God sent his friends, told his friends he wouldn't hear from them unless his servant Job would pray for them. When Job prayed for his friend. And after Job prayed for his friend in Job 42:10, it tells us that God turned the captivity of Job. So you see, that tells me that from the very beginning, God allowed Satan to take Job captive with certain limitations. He couldn't take his life away. But in the end, God is going to turn. He did turn the captivity. And he gave Job, he restored Job double than what he had before. And so, people of God, I believe that the reason God has allowed me to see this small, simple thing with these eggs and then remind me of Job, I believe that God wants us to know that he is going to turn the captivity. Whatever your captivity is, you may have been bound in your health and fighting and believing and knowing that God will restore you. God is going to turn your captivity. See, Job was on a bed of affliction. God turned his captivity. He gave him more than what he had before. And not only that, the Bible goes on to tell us at the end of the book of Job that Job not only had more, he multiplied in what he had, but he lived a long life. He was able to not only see his grandchildren, but his great-great-grandchildren. You understand? So if the enemy has had you bound and afflicted, God is going to return your captivity. He's going to return your health and strength. Daniel, whew, whew, man, go. God is going to turn your captivity. Why you just pass gas like that, man? Why? Why would you do that to me? Huh? I treat you so good. That's not nice. Sitting up here farting. But anyway, God is going to turn the captivity of his people. And that's, like I said, whatever your captivity is, whatever you have, this thing that you have been a long time battle, a long time struggle, you know, whether it be you've been captive in your finances, you've always had this heavy burden of debt over you. God is going to turn that captivity, and you're going to have more in your latter than you did in your beginning. You know, if you've been, like I said, if you've been bound in your sickness, in your body, if you've been on a bed of affliction, God is going to turn that captivity. Only you and God know what your captivity is, and he is going to give you double for your trouble. God is going to show up, and it's going to be the same way when I went out there and I was not expecting to have double eggs, not once, but twice. That is how it's going to be for the people of God. And I believe that with all of my heart, my mind, and my soul. It is going to be double, and it's going to be unexpected, right? So anyway, I just wanted to share that. Be encouraged, people of God. Be encouraged. In the end, Job, he built a relationship with God. He was able to see God on a whole nother level. You see, in the beginning, he said, I had only known what I had been taught, what I had heard about you. But see, now I know your power. Now I know your strength. Now I have seen you. I've made contact with you, direct contact. So forgive me for my ignorant words. You are the God that answers by fire. And I'm paraphrasing, but you are the most supreme God. You are all powerful. You can do anything. You're the God that raises the sun. You know? So pretty much he saw God in a way that he never seen God before. And now he knows that God has power to restore. He knows that God had the power to stop the calamities that were coming upon him if he just called on him in a way that he never tried God before. So anyway, people of God, be encouraged. Let the story of Job encourage you. Stay in faith. Everybody around you might be falling away. Might seem like you're by yourself. Only you can see really what's going on. and you really might not be able to understand it all, but you see something that everybody around you may not be able to see. You're experiencing something that nobody around you seems to be able to come into agreement and understand. But you just press your way forward. Keep your faith in God and try God like you never tried him before. Speak to your situation with authority and with power. Don't cower down. Don't let your situation make you curse the day that you were born. Don't make your situation make you question God. We have an adversary. And see, Job realized that in his latter, in his former, before he was restored, when God showed up, we have an accuser. And if he has been given permission, because he can only do what God allows him to do, and if he has been given permission to take you captive in a certain area of your life, if he's been given permission to attack a certain area in your life, then you have the right and the ability to stand on the word of God, to call on God, and to speak to your adversary, the one and only adversary, trusting that God shall hear you, just like he heard Daniel the very first day that Daniel petitioned God. He humbled himself and petitioned God for understanding. Petition God in a way that you never petitioned him before. Don't complain about your situation. Don't curse your situation. Speak with authority. Speak with power. Know that you're coming out. Know that your latter going to be better than your younger. God's strength is made perfect in our weakness. It didn't say that God's strength is made perfect in our strength. We don't have the strength to fight against unseen forces and things that, we never felt or seen before. But we have a God that does. We have a God. We have the blood of Jesus that we can rely on, that protects us. Try God in a way that you never tried him before. And just keep standing. Keep pressing your way through. Press my way through. Press my way through. Can't give up now. I must press my way through. You got to press your way through. Keep pressing your way through. And know that you are going to be restored. Your captivity is going to be turned. Same thing he did for Job. He's going to do for some of his people who are having a Job-like experience. And he's going to restore you. It's going to be double. There is no mistake that God allowed this to happen today. He used simple eggs to send a message. Miracle signs and wonders. All right. That's all I needed to share. I hope that brought clarity and encouragement and understanding for someone. I didn't quite understand it, but this is all that God has placed in my spirit on my way walking back in the house. That's what came to me, Job. So have a blessed day. Continue to enjoy the remainder of your Sabbath, and know that your little country bunking sister loves you.